Welcome back to my podcast. I'm David. This is HowToKDJ, and God, I've been having a little bit of flu for the past few days. It's not really the main reason I haven't posted in a while, like in like a week, but I'm gonna use that as my excuse, I guess. I've just had some friends around, so I kind of had to host them and stuff. But yeah, I have a bit of a flu right now. You can probably hear it in my voice. I kind of think I sound nicer, weirdly enough. Why is that a thing? Like, why do I sound cleaner or like deeper? Ooh, sounds nice, right? It sounds sexy. Whatever. Why do I sound so much smoother when? Like, why do you sound like that when you get a cold? I guess because there's less of a space, or there's much more stuff flapping around. I don't know. It just that's how it feels to me when I try to force the deep voice. When you like when you do that, when you try to make your voice sound nice and thick, or whatever. Like doing that feels like I'm kind of first closing up a lot, and also like, well, it's weird, right? Because to make a deep voice, you technically do the opposite. Like your vocal cords open up, right? Isn't that the whole thing? Like your vocal cords kind of look like, sort of like like a labia, like a labia majora. It just kind of looks like I don't know how to explain it. Whatever. Welcome to my podcast. I got a lot of stuff to talk about today. First of all, money. Like why did I choose money for this video today? Two reasons. First of all, why did what? Really try to think about it. Someone just kind of traded something for something in the past, and then someone else was like, wait a minute, this is a lot of stuff. Why don't I give you like a piece of paper that shows you have this much stuff, or that you made or produced this much stuff, and then we'll just all accept that this piece of paper stands for that thing you did. How did people agree on that, and we can't agree on what freaking clothes to wear or what kind of fashion? Like, why are there so many things that we can't agree on, but we just agreed on money? I guess that's like a long time ago, and usually the people who make, like, the trendsetters of then were usually like much richer. Of course, they were the people who had the money in the first place or had all the resources. So like those people were the ones who set trends, and whatever they said went. I don't know. It's just it's weird to think about because it's like now, because when you think about anything in hindsight, it looks so weird when you break anything down because it looks so basic when you recall it. But that's just life for you, I guess. But I don't know. It's always been kind of weird to me that we just sort of accepted that. Like we just kind of accepted that this has this much value, and we just put it like that. And yes, I do understand there's also the aspect of rarity, because like the more rare a thing is, the more valuable it is in general. It's kind of the thing about humanity in general. Like we value rare things. I wonder if there's like some kind of species out there, some creature or something that does the opposite. Like they value things that are more abundant than things that are rare. Because I don't know. I'm not sure. Because like part of our nature, curiosity is there, and curiosity is based on rarity. It's kind of based on the fact that that thing that you're curious about, is not common. And because it's not common, that's what makes it a curiosity. That's what makes you feel curious about a thing. So I don't know. I feel like it's connected, and also the brain is wired in a specific way, and that's kind of what leads to us placing value on money. How does society work if we didn't have like if we didn't place value on a thing based on how rare it was? I don't understand. I don't even know how it would be. Like I'm not even saying how much better or how much worse. Now I have no idea because I haven't thought deep enough about it, I guess. I can do that now. I mean, think about it. Like if a society had to be based on things that were common, then I guess the non-special ones. I guess the problem is the society there's this weird thing about humanity where if we don't do positive things, we literally have to do negative things. You know, like we always kind of classify things, and the more orthodox, the more normal, basic you are, I guess, the more you do left or right. You know, we literally have political parties who are called leftists and right. Like it's just, I don't know. Everything has to be sectioned because it helps for simplicity. And yeah, I've always said this. Simplicity is the destruct. Wait, how do I really say it? Simplicity is the killer of creativity, or simplicity is just bad. That's the best way I can put it. Like, that's the simplest way I can put it. And you see how bad the freaking explanation sounded? That I don't know. I'm not making a good point here, but like in general, when you try to simplify everything, it kind of just spoils things. But you kind of have to sometimes because not everyone has that mental capacity to like break everything down into how it actually works. So it's kind of just easy to say, yeah, I am this or I am that, you know? Like that's kind of what we went for, even for gender specificity, even for like pretty much anything. And to be fair, we were kind of born that way in the first place. We have XY chromosomes and XX chromosomes, literally only those two. Like, yes, there might be some kind of biological fallacy where there's a thing. There's sometimes some people are born, whatever. Look, I know hermaphrodites exist. I know all of that exists. But at the same time, I have to generalize here because when we're talking about biology, it's easier to generalize because it's easier. It's simpler. You know, see, it affects me as well. So I don't know. It's just part of biology that we always have two. You know, we have one or the other, just like we have rich or poor. Like there is what we call middle class, quote unquote, but that's just kind of because we know some people are exorbitantly rich and some people are extremely poor. But you notice how there is no middle poor class? There's just middle class, there is rich, there is poor. That's it. But there are layers to being poor. There are many layers. There are layers to being rich. There are layers to everything. But like, you know, it's just easy for simplicity when we kind of section out things like that, and that kind of affects a lot of things that we do in general. Like money, for example. Like, I don't know how, because obviously this is back to my point of like money and how the whole thing works. Is like we just kind of put value on things that are rare, and that's it. Like we went, oh, okay, we need food, right? And instead of going like, you know, cows and saying, oh, okay, we need food, so we just kind of eat whatever we find on the ground, which is pretty much cows to me, like, because you know they can process grass, so they just eat grass and that's it. And grass is like probably the most common freaking plants in any form of anywhere, because it's like just it's grass, and they don't really care what kind of grass. Like probably some things are more nutritious, but look, cows can literally just eat grass and survive and grow and everything and live for years, just grass, and that's it. And because of that whole thing, like they're so basic and so easy to maintain, that's kind of part of the reason we eat them. But we don't glamorize cows, if you notice. And I know some cultures do, but look, just look, I'm generalizing here, okay? There's no we if I don't generalize, you know? Because everyone's special, and if I don't see, fine. But here's the thing, cows are not that special, which is the reason we eat them in almost everything we eat. So therefore, they are less valuable. Technically, like it is awesome that we have so many cows, and I can't really imagine life like as a person, as an omnivore, as a person who eats meats and stuff. I can't imagine life without cows or without goats or like, you know, without those kinds of animals, like herd animals. So it's kind of like, is it really rare, or is it just like is it always just rare things that are special? Yes. But also, everything can be special to somebody. You know, to a vegetarian, cows aren't really that special. In fact, they would probably rather just leave the cow be instead of killing it, because they don't eat cows, I guess. But for someone like me, it is special, but it's not like so valuable in a way, because it's not hard to find, if you know what I mean. So it's not rare. So like my whole point around this is like, pardon me, my whole point is value is pretty much just assigned to things that are rare. And when things are rare, then they have more value. But it doesn't always mean they're more or less special. Like diamonds. You know, the whole thing that like we are just kind of told from the onset, and especially because of like mass media and stuff, and because people have kind of mentally been wired this way for so long, we've been made to believe that diamonds are like extremely special. And yes, chemically, like when it comes to chemistry, they are technically special because they are like the most perfect carbon composite like imaginable. It's diamonds. Like diamond is literally just carbon molecules that form the perfect structure that made that thing. That thing is literally just carbon deposited, but in such a perfect structure. That's it. That's literally it. And yes, that also does mean that it's one of the hardest materials ever, like imaginable, in the entirety of the periodic table, I guess. It's one of the hardest materials. I don't know if it's exactly the hardest. That's like a 50-50 thing. Some diamonds are more perfect than some as well, because there's always impurities sometimes. And to make like a perfect one, you usually have to make it. Like, you don't just find that normally. I mean, you can, but like, that's the thing. It's rare, and also, but the problem with it is it's not as usable as you'd think. Because there are sanders and stuff that we use to like sand things that are like coated with like diamond, little scrapings of diamonds and stuff. And that does help and stuff. Like in general life, in day-to-day life, if you didn't handle diamonds in any way, you would probably not even be able to tell. So it's not that important or valuable, but apparently it costs a lot. So like, I don't know, it's just, that's one of those things where pardon me, that's one of those things where it is valuable, but sort of it's valuable mostly because of how rare it is. But then there is money, though. Money is paper. We do like generalize that money is paper. It's not technically exactly paper. Oh, fine. It's like a special kind of paper, like a special print from the bank that you can't forge, like without getting caught. But you can't like you can't just print money. You can just use regular paper to print it and use that as like in a bank, for example, because they usually have like little things that you need a bank to do. So like, yes, that does make it special, but at the same time, that piece of paper itself isn't really valuable, but then it is because it leads to more valuable things. I don't know where I'm going with this, but like, I don't know. It's a fun thing to think about because it's like you can't really justify how special paper is unless you use it physically to like convey a message or to make a thing. So like the fact that we just justified money because a set of people long time ago said this is what we should use. This is the easiest way to move resources around and know you have those resources with proof, or like just generally to prove that you have those resources. Or like by resources I don't always mean physical material, I mean like mental resources, mental capabilities. The only way to prove all these things is to literally show this piece of paper. Like the fact that we just kind of agreed on that is, I don't know, it's kind of crazy that we just like, think about it, we can't agree on anything. Like I said that earlier on, we can't agree on anything. Every single day I go on social media and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with, why is there so much conflict in every single thing, like everything? And to some people it feels like there has to be conflict, some people feel like there's nothing we should all agree with. You know what I mean? Like there is always that one person, not even that one person, there's always like 1,000 freaking people that are on something that has been liked by a lot of people that unanimously is just great. One person who is just so spiked for no reason by one thing that a lot of people that he would just, or they would just like point out, and just so many people just agree with them. And a lot of the time that pisses me off purely because a lot of people agree with that and then use that to judge the thing they liked in the first place, which I feel is kind of annoying because like everything can be judged wrongly if you look at it from a certain perspective. But the fact that you now, because you looked at it from a certain perspective, chose to disregard everything about that subject, I don't know, it just blows my mind how crazy people can be sometimes. But besides that, I'll probably talk about that in a different podcast episode or something. But like money is so, like, it's so liquid. It's so, the fact that it's just a thing that we place value on because it leads to things that are physically more valuable kind of just blows my mind. It really, really, really does blow my mind. And a lot of the time, money has more value the more it goes, purely because the people who brought in those resources, that money, you know, the people who started or manufactured those resources that money stands for are different or more special than most other people. I, Let me explain what I mean. If Albert Einstein, or let's not use someone so freaking crazy like that. LeBron James jersey is fabric. It's a piece of clothing. It has his name, cool. It has this, but the fact that he is such a specific person and he can do a specific thing, that gives his fabric, the fabric that he wears, he literally just puts on his body. He could put anything on his body, but he puts that thing on his body and trusts that thing that it won't get in his way. He puts that thing on his body, and then that justifies how valuable that thing is. And that trickles down into everything, because the reason a lot of properties have value is purely because of something else that happen to use or happen to be with or happen to be in any way tied or correlated to that property. Like a neighborhood where LeBron James lives would be more expensive than a neighborhood where he doesn't live. That's just kind of how it is. He doesn't affect the neighborhood in any way, except that he does, which is kind of crazy, you know. It's all psychological, because this is all just we perceive that, and that's it. It doesn't physically manifest in any way, but we kind of force that into manifestation. And I don't know, it's just funny to think about the fact that so many things are looked at the way they are purely because we chose to do that, and that's it. It's not like it affects our physical anything, but then it does, though, because we chose to make it affect us. You know, there's like a step before the step. If you think about it, it's like it's not because the thing is valuable that we placed value on it. No, we place value on it because we think it should be valuable, and because we think it is so, and that's it. And that's humanity for you. That's just how humanity is. It's like we just assigned value to that thing, and that's kind of how money works. We assigned value to a special piece of paper printed by a specific group of people, and we just trust that those people know what they're doing a lot of the time, especially for people who don't study this stuff. And even if you study it, dude, trust me, anyone can do anything, and that does genuinely, I 100%, this is probably a conspiracy here, I 100% believe that this is a thing that affects societies in general when it comes to money and value. Anyone can, any company that has been assigned or given this role of printing money can just do what they want. They can. And some people might be like, nah, there's a body watching them. They're all human beings. Okay? We're all human beings. And dude, trust me, corruption is in our blood. It's in there. It's part of our curiosity. It's part of our reasoning. It's like when you know you can do something without getting caught, you will most likely do it. That's just humanity for you. That's literally it. When you know you can do something without repercussion that affects you in any bad negative way, then you will most likely do it. That's the thing. And don't come to me some people are more or they're much better. Some people know the good from bad. No, the reason those people know good from bad is because they've been wired to think that way. It's because a lot of the time they grew up with parents who told them specific things are bad, specific things are good, and this is how this affects other people. And yes, empathy does get built up from that, which is a great thing. I really, really love the subject of empathy, and I've talked about it before, and I probably will keep talking about it because it's very important. But when it comes to logical reasoning, empathy is just a human thing. It's just how does that affect someone else, and that's it. You don't have to care. That's the thing. That's what makes a good person different from a bad person, because we have to classify everything. But the reason we justify some things as good and some things as bad is because we have empathy or because we're taught to be empathetic. But you don't need to be empathetic. because sometimes, especially when it comes to money, because money is the root of all evil, whatever. Like the whole thing is basically because money gives more some people more opportunities than some other people, and which that's basically power. Money gives power to some people from some other people, and because of that, some people just can like throw away empathy. They can feel like they don't need to care about that because at the end of the day, pretty much everything you do is anti-empathetic to someone else. I don't know what the opposite. What's an antonym of empathetic? I have no idea. But like I don't know. I'm not that good. But like I feel like it's like some people just put that aside because that money has given them so much mental, like, I guess corruption is the best way to put it. That makes sense. That they feel like they don't need to be empathetic anymore because it's like you can only really have so much empathy until you're not really doing things for yourself at all anymore. And at the end of the day, we're all bound by our selfishness, because that's human nature for you. Everything is about selfishness. Every religion is about selfishness. Every form of theory of anything is about selfishness. Every form of human thing is about selfish. Like selfishness is how we run society. It's that we want something for ourselves and for our children, our generations. So we want things to be better for us, and that's great. That's how society is run. That's how everything works. But when you say the word selfishness to a lot of people, they look at you in a funny way because everyone has to think about things in specific ways, whatever. But like in general, because of that personal selfishness, you may constrict your selfishness to a certain path. You may be selfish to yourself only, or you may be selfish to yourself and how other people feel, but still to yourself. If you get what I mean, because the only reason you care about how other people feel is because of how it makes you feel. See? That's kind of the whole God, this is a big side tangent, but that's kind of the whole theory when it comes to free will and artificial intelligence. I know I threw that from basically nowhere, but like I just threw it in from nowhere, but like think about it. The whole reason we have free will, or free will, quote unquote, is because we feel this selfishness to certain degrees, is because we feel like we need a thing for ourselves to fulfill our own desires. And sometimes your desire is to please other people because it pleases you. You see? And that's to my understanding, that is actual artificial intelligence. That's actual intelligence. It's artificial because we basically programmed it. That's kind of how humanity goes. It's like we have biological stuff, then artificial stuff, and artificial is usually humans made it out of inorganic things. Even though when you technically break down all of chemistry, what's organic and what's inorganic, it's just human. It's just all atoms. We're literally all just freaking floating tiny orbs. Like we're just protons, neutrons, electrons, and some photons fly around. That's it. We just interact. We're just tiny balls of floating freaking substances that just coagulates together and just kind of move around. I don't know, but it's crazy to think about because it's like all of that leads to the way we think, and all of that leads to the way we have intelligence, or the way we act, or the way we perceive. And because of that whole thing, it's like that's how we treat money. That's how we treat valuable things. We put value on what we want personally, even though some people obviously lie to themselves that no, I'm not doing it for myself. I feel this way because it affects this person in a bad way. Why do you think you feel that way? Because why don't people like completing the sentence? You know what I'm getting to is like when you say I'm doing this for that person, you should finish that sentence because it shows how self-aware you are. And my personal pet peeve is people who are not self-aware. Like, it irks me that some people are genuinely not self-aware to what they're doing. Like they just can't see it, and I don't know. It just feels horrible to me because it's like that's like my definition of being stupid. And I understand that's straight up an insult, but I'm not gonna apologize about it because non-self-awareness is the very definition of stupidity to me, at least. Like that's when I know a person is stupid because they're not self-aware. Because being ignorant is a specific thing. It means you just don't know enough, but not being self-aware is straight up stupidity. Like it's not stupidity in the sense that they're just being stupid, like a verb, like an act. No, it's stupidity as how will I put it? I guess then like it's stupid or they are stupid as an adjective. Yes, as an adjective, because it's like they are stupid. They what qualifies them to me, to myself, is stupidity. That's exactly the way to put it. Because I don't like the fact that you can go on with life, and I'm talking about grown-ups, obviously. I know kids don't have self-awareness, and you learn this thing after a while, and that's all, gathering knowledge and stuff. And yes, I understand that there's like a barrier, but like you need to have that. You need to understand that to flow in any form of society, because otherwise you're not doing the society any good by just not knowing stuff and not understanding how to be self-aware. The self-awareness is how you run everything. The only reason you know the right thing to do from the wrong thing is because you're self-aware enough to realize what you want or what you want other people to want, if you know what I mean. But breaking that aside, because that's a very complicated topic, there's a very complex discussion, but that self-awareness aside, that's kind of how I imagine to justify selfishness. Self-awareness is all about selfishness because it's self-awareness. It's you being aware of yourself. And the only reason you're aware of yourself is because you're selfish to yourself. Like you have to be selfish to be self-aware. Think about it. What's selfishness? Selfishness is pretty much just you thinking about yourself or you making decisions for yourself and yourself alone. Yes, some people may be like, yeah, but technically I'm making decisions for me and that person. Why are you making that decision for that person though? That's the answer. Sometimes thinking about things doesn't mean like trying to understand something. It doesn't always mean what's the reason, the direct reason. That's not always the right answer. Because like think about it in anything, in any machine, in any car. What does a freaking steering do? Like the steering wheel for like the car. What does it do? It's transferring a signal based on how much you rotate it to a specific thing inside that car. Now, if I said that's the answer, would that really make much sense as the actual answer? No, because the actual answer is it transfers that signal to like the chassis, I guess, in the car. I'm not exactly sure of that term. But then from there, it gets transferred to the wheels themselves. After skip a few, like it gets transferred to the wheels. And when it gets transferred to the wheels, what happens? The wheels turn. And when the wheels turn, what happens? The car moves in a specific direction based on how much you turn the steering wheel. So all of that is from wheel to wheel, like from the steering wheel to the actual wheels of the car, all for turning. Now, the actual answer to what turning the steering wheel does is it makes the car move in a specific direction. That's the actual answer. The actual answer is not, it's because it controls the chassis inside the car. That's not the actual answer. So that same reasoning, because it's all about logical reasoning, that same reasoning goes to selfishness, goes to how we see ourselves, how we see everything, how we value things. Because the only reason money has value is because we imposed a personal connotation, a personal understanding to that piece of money. Same thing with everything else. The only reason you care about how something affects someone else is because of how it affects you. That's it. It affects you in a bad way if it affects someone else badly. You see? It's two sides. And one side is the actual side. And to say it's two sides kind of makes it feel equal. I don't even think it's equal. I don't think... Oh, wait, 1 second. There's a freaking mosquito in this room. What the hell? Okay. Hopefully that's not sucking my blood right now. I can't find it anymore, and it was like a really really thick, juicy mosquito. Probably what gave me this freaking flu in the first place. But besides that, what I was getting to, I'm kind of just watching my watching over my shoulder for this mosquito. I don't know where the heck it is. But besides that, back to my point. The reason you feel a certain way for others is because of how it makes you feel. Think about it. Think about yourself like how you would imagine a therapist would therapize you, for a lack of a better term. Think about it like this: if a therapist said, "Why do you care that punching that guy is a bad thing? Why do you think that's bad? Why do you think you shouldn't be angry? You shouldn't punch that guy?" What do you think the therapist would say? The therapist would probably say something like, or do you think your answer to the therapist would be? It would be something like, "Yeah, I just because I know it hurts him. I know what hurts me, and I've seen the way people react when I swing my hand at them. So that's not a good thing, and I can see the reaction, and I can see the fact that it causes them pain and causes them it could cause injuries and stuff. And these aren't great things. These are bad things to feel. Cool. But what makes you feel like those are bad things to feel? Well, then you have to answer this because it's a therapist that you paid freaking how much money, however money you wasted on that freaking person with their own life issues. Aside that, you tell the person, okay, yeah, I feel that way because I know that this is not really a great thing to do to a person, and because I know that this is not how I would want to be treated. You see that? You get my point now? The reason you feel bad about punching someone is because you know you don't want that, or you would not want that to happen to yourself. And because you know that deep down it will be unsatisfying, it will be a negative, painful feeling to you if you cause someone else pain. That's it. And that's what makes a lot of movies, on the side tangent, a lot of movies will talk about AI and sci-fi stuff where they have automatic and artificial intelligence that's programmed in a way and goes haywire. It's always like they kind of dribble around this fact that the reason the AI feels or lacks feeling, in certain cases, is because they don't have that step, that self-satisfying step. There is no self to a programming that is not programmed with self. That's like the floor is floor. Look, the reason I'm saying this is because everything obviously has a genetic programming, and there's a reason you do everything and all that biological mumbo jumbo. But the reason we feel a certain way is because of how it makes us feel. And that's kind of the whole thing. That's the whole thing about money. That's the whole thing about any form of valuable anything. Even yourself. The reason you feel like a child is valuable to you is because you know how that child makes you feel. It makes you feel happy. It makes you feel great. It makes you have good fantasies about the future. That's it. It makes you feel those things. If you didn't feel, there's probably a specific scientific term for not being able to feel, mentally feel, not physically feel. I know that's a specific thing. Like that guy in Prison Break, I think. God, I forgot the name. His name was Teabag. Oh wait, no, that wasn't even in Prison Break. There was a guy in Blacklist that had this. It's the same guy who was named Teabag in Prison Break. I don't know if anyone's getting what I'm talking about, but that guy in Blacklist had this condition where he literally physically couldn't feel things. He couldn't feel pain, couldn't feel any form of anything. But besides that, whatever. That was just a thing I thought about. But because we feel things, that is why we choose to do things. That's it. Because we feel how those things affect us. And generally, that's how all of biology does things. That's how anything that has reasoning does things. The only reason you think for animals, I should give birth to a next of kin is because of how it makes you feel. You feel like you should give birth. You are not like an entity outside watching yourself do other things. No, you are yourself, and you saw that. You felt that feeling. You went in your mind and went, I should do this or I should not do this, or like this thing I'm doing is bad, this thing I'm doing is good. And that's why you choose what you do. That's why you have free will. That's why you have self awareness. It's because you feel those things because of how it affects you. And that's exactly my whole point. Money, back to the whole thing that we're talking about in the beginning, what this whole episode is about. Money kind of has that same reasoning too, because it's all about how it affects people. And the reason, like, I'm always like so confused about it is like we put so much trust in something we basically know nothing about because it's hidden. You don't know how banks actually print money. You don't know how every bank does that. You've probably seen a video that someone has told, and to be fair, like this is kind of how every form of information works. Even in science, there's a lot of things I know, quote unquote, about life, about reality, and all this stuff. But a lot of it is just based on what someone said that sounded believable enough and reasonable enough and logical enough that I just choose to believe, because that's life. That's all life is. Life is all about belief. Like the only way to have any form of life, any form of confidence in anything, is to believe something. You need to believe in something. If you feel like I don't really have a religion, you still believe in something. You probably believe in logic. That's it. You believe in science, or you believe in reasoning first before acting. You believe in a lot of things, like a lot of things that we believe in. It's just that when we say the word believe, it does strike a nerve because you immediately think faith, or you think, religious belief. But that's not the same belief. That ends with an F. And I'm not saying you have a belief. I'm saying you believe in things, and that whole thing drives the way we think. And in this particular case, banks are not like, they don't show us anything. They don't show the public anything. Literally 99.9999% of the public doesn't actually see how money gets printed or what makes that money valuable. Like you can't see that. We just trust them. Like that's it. We can't see how our money is being made. We can't see how the value is being assigned to it. We can't see any of this. A lot of the time, a lot of marketing stuff happens because some guys are powerful enough to make those decisions. And because they made those decisions, it kind of trickled down into controlling how other things work. You get? And this is like a long-winded way of me saying, I don't really know how we came to trust, like, in our financial system, in our money system. I don't know how we even came to like trust how much value to place on a certain thing, because that's like this goes into like there's a second part of this whole topic I want to talk about, like payment, right? Payment, how you qualify a job done with valuable, property, with money. That whole thing is so loose that it's kind of crazy. Like, how does a society keep itself like on its feet? Like, how do we just kind of, because there are a lot of ground rules that are not set that we just kind of follow. Like, that's the crazy thing about society. Like, people do not understand, like, because obviously it's nice when you just have a relaxed brain, and most people like to have a relaxed brain, which is understandable. I like to have a relaxed brain a lot of the time, but at the same time I like to ponder, because it leads to these kinds of discussions and conversation and thoughts where I'm like, how did we just accept things? Like, how do we know what to put, like how much value to put on a thing we can do, on a skill, on anything? How do we know how much value to put? How do we actually know? Because at the end of the day, a thing only has value based on how other people perceive it. That's it. That's literally how it works. The only reason oxygen has value to us is because we need it to survive. That's literally why oxygen is valuable to us. Or the reason, I would say, to make my point clearer, air is valuable to us. It's literally because we need it to survive, because that's how our lungs work. It's a biological thing. Like, it's just part of how we work. But to a fish, to a freaking freaking tilapia fish in the freaking ocean. Like, it doesn't care about air. Like, it doesn't have any value in air. There could be no air and it literally wouldn't care. And yes, there is a deeper understanding of biology. I understand that fishes technically do breathe. They just basically suck it out of the water. Fine. I'm saying a giant body of air outside water. How they have no value for that. It doesn't affect them in any way. Like, it literally does not affect them. Especially deep sea creatures, for example. Any form of chemical freaking air pollution or whatever that happens does not affect them. So they don't care about air. They don't care how hot it is, they don't care how cold it is, they don't freaking, because they're so far away from it that their bodies don't even care. And because of that whole thing, to that animal, air is not valuable to it. Like, it just doesn't have any value to it. But for human beings, not even just air, everything we do, how do we place value on things? Because it's so, I don't know, it's sort of funny to me. Like, how do we know how much value to place on a skill? How do we know how much we should get paid? Because in all financial situations and how finances work and how payments work, that a lot of people will ask questions about is like, the reason you get a certain pay is because of what your skill is, what capabilities your skills bring to the table. That's it. It's your skill capabilities, not your physical skill. Because there's this weird argument that goes around online where people are like, fast food workers, or I don't know, freaking bricklayers, people who like make buildings, people who like pave the roads and stuff, like they get paid so less than a businessman who literally his whole job is just to sit in an office literally like three hours a week and just say yes or no to some things, and that's it. So they're like, why the hell is that guy making multiple millions whereas the other guy who's doing more physical? No, that's not how money works. That's the thing. That's the issue. It's also the reason. Like, we have this mentality where we feel like physical labor should be given a certain amount of justified value. Fine. That's great. That's fine. That's an empathetic way of thinking. But that's not how life works. A lot of things have way more value based on how little the physical work you put in is. Like, you wouldn't say a video editor is more valuable because he has to control some freaking crane arm to control the mouse pad, to control it to click the computer, to control it to open the tab, to control it to open the application that you're going to edit on. You're not paying for all of that. You're paying for the final result. And what's the final result of that businessman sitting up there saying yes and no to things? Work gets done. Companies, everything, all the shareholders, all the businesses, all the paving of roads, all the fast food work, all the baristas, all the serving, all the maintaining, all the restaurant work, every single form of service is based on a decision made by some guy that we've allowed, because that's the best way to put it, that we've permitted to be the leader of that task or to be the justifier of that task. That's how it works. And the thing is, it gets to a point that yes, you are paid for the more things or the more people you move. Literally that. The more people are moved by what you do, the more valuable what you do is. That's literally how it works. The reason a lot of like people are more popular or famous than some other people is because they moved more people. And that's kind of how every single form of financial system works, based on what I discovered. And there might be some exceptions here and there, but like that's the basic consensus of it. It's based on how many people you move. And one bricklayer, one guy out there, yeah, a lot of time you do end up, because that's another thing, you end up moving more people than the guy who pushed the button inside an office. But do you really? Because that guy in that office affected a life, which affected more lives, which affected more lives, which affected thousands and thousands and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of generations after him or after them. That's the thing. that guy pushing that button, controlling that many thousands of people at once, affects way more people. And some people will be like, nah, but what about the people who build, like, I don't know, skyscrapers, who build trains? Yeah, one guy instructed all those people, or at least one, maybe like a group of, like a small body of people, like the top ends, the chairman of the company, they instructed that set of people to do that thing by making a decision that they should do it. And then they paid those people. That's it. That's how every form of business works. Any form of artist, any form of anything that you do is based on how many people it moves. That's why you can't see a barista making as much money as a freaking Elon Musk type of person. A person with how many freaking companies he has, planning space adventures in the future, all this stuff, all this groundbreaking scientific stuff, and also the fact that he owns an entire multi-billion dollar freaking social media company, Twitter, or X, whatever. Like, that person he's moving so much more than a barista is. Yes, he physically may not be doing, and not even may not, he is physically not doing as much as a barista is, walking back and forth, serving, talking to guests and stuff. But one person is moving way more lives than the other, and trust me, it's not the barista. That's kind of how money has value. That's how the value of everything is imposed. And that's the whole argument. A lot of people don't understand that. And the problem, I really hate this whole thing, because this is another one of my pet peeves. I love when there is like gratification on the fact that like everyone understands a thing. I'm kind of one of those guys who gets pissed off when people don't understand what I understand, and I know that's a bit of an asshole thing to do, but it's internal. It's not like I burst out. I don't get any form of outrage. I have enough empathy to understand that a lot of people don't understand enough, and that's something. It's not fine. I wouldn't say, oh, that's fine. No, it's not. I feel like people should strive to understand more. Like, you should. That's at least you owe at least that much. Just understand enough so that other people don't have to suffer because you didn't understand enough. Like, look at Hitler. Why do you think he killed so many people? It's based on a very stupid, loose argument that he didn't think those people were meant to exist, or those people should have existed. And also because of a lot of other, like, personal sort of quote-unquote religious understandings that he had, like, based on the way Jewish people were back then. Like, a lot of different, like, bent, stupid, power-driven approaches. That's what caused so many millions of people to die. So, in order not to make that happen again, because we don't want many people to die because of our selfish desire to keep our humanity progressing, which is, that's another debate for another time. Like, because we don't want that many people to die, we have to understand things more. We have to be better at, like, just understanding how everything works, and understanding how the financial system works, and, like, asking questions. Because otherwise, someone will play on the absolute fact, and a lot of people are doing that right now, that we don't understand enough. A lot of the reason we think some things are valuable is because we're just told they're valuable. And that's it. That's why we thought diamonds were so valuable for so long. I'm saying where, because, like, people are kind of starting to understand it. They're starting to figure it out, especially with all the synthetic diamond stuff that's been coming out. That's literally even more perfect than the one in displays, and also you can synthesize diamond and make it imperfect if you want. I don't know how people can just think deeper sometimes, whatever. But, like, because of this whole thing, we've started to realize how much it doesn't really matter. You know how in every single old cartoon, there was always this small thing about how if they were talking about anything precious, diamonds, gold, that's it. They always have something shiny, because shiny things just spark our curiosity as humankind, because we don't biologically have anything shiny about us. The most shiny things about us are our eyes and teeth. That's it. And teeth, common, always inside our mouths and stuff, and that's teeth, it's literally teeth. Eyes, not really shiny like that, but, like, they're the brightest things about us. They're kind of what make up our personalities and stuff, whatever. But, like, aside that, shiny things just kind of look special enough that we just justified how valuable they are. because they're not normal to us, like I said. So, like, I don't know, this is a whole topic and this is a whole thing, and I'm trying to squeeze this whole thing down under an hour because I don't want to talk for too long, and I have a lot of stuff to say all the time, but I can kind of break it down into episode by episode formats, and I hope you guys enjoy this. I don't know, I keep talking about lots of random stuff all the time because these are things that itch my brain, and I just kind of have to get that news out somewhere. And I think that was a pretty fun topic. Money is just such a special thing. Like, we just accept it. We just accept it, and a lot of people can't do anything about it, and a lot of people can, but still, the only reason they can is because other people can't. And it's like, I don't know. It's such a weird freaking Ouroboros of an idea because it's like the reason is because of that reason. It's kind of like a weird loop. It's like a paradox in a way. It's like the only reason we put so much value on money is because we put so much value on money. That's it. The only reason we feel like we should put money in as valuable, or that piece of paper or that thing in our account, that number, is because we think we should put that much value in that thing or that number because we just kind of accepted it. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's a fun topic to think about. I hope that was fun for you guys. I hope that was entertaining. I hope that was interesting. Probably listening to this, I don't know, doing something else. I hope you're doing something else. Please don't like focus, don't hyper focus on my podcast, please, because I make a lot of I say a lot of weird things, and I don't know. Just please don't hyper focus on this. Watch this while doing something else. Just have it in the background or something. I have tons of episodes at this point, so you can always listen to it. It's fun. It's cool. That's my logo right there. So have fun, you beautiful people, and you guys will see me in the next video. Get out of here.